Good morning. Your Excellency Sheikh Mansour bin Musallam, President of the Education Relief Foundation. Mr. Peter Fell, Vice President of the Education Relief Foundation. I am honored to be here with you today in this opening session of the second Forum for Balanced and Inclusive Education, organized by both the Education Relief Foundation and the Mexican Ministry of Public Education. I am glad to see that almost 70 relevant personalities of the education sector have joined us today representing different regions, governments, and international organizations, including 4 ministers. Your Excellencies, Mr. Abdullah Salim Ahmed Lahlas, Minister of Education of the Republic of Yemen, Mr. Hussein Abdulrahman Abdulka, Minister of Higher Education of the Republic of Yemen, Mr. Muhammad Hassan, State Minister of General Education of Ethiopia, and Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, Ministry of Education of Djibouti. Vice Ministers and other representatives, please be very welcome to Mexico City. Over the last years, the Educational Relief Foundation has been working on research and consultations, sharing best practices to achieve balanced and inclusive education in different regions as the Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Europe. Convinced of the relevance of these 2 strategies, inclusiveness and balance, the ERF advocates and works towards a commitment to change both at the policy level as well as amongst the stakeholders of the relevant education systems and institutions worldwide. At the Mexican government, we have also worked in this direction. Since the beginning of this administration, major structural reforms approved radical changes in most of the main sectors in Mexico: energy, telecommunications, finance and taxes, labor, and of course, education. Considering its purpose and financial and potential social impact, there is little controversy around the fact that the education reform is the most important. It also represented a huge challenge as Mexico's education system, one of the largest in the world with more than 36 million students, with reform education became crucial in the political agenda and public debate. Through 2 parallel processes, one transforming the national administration system and the other restructuring the curricula, the education reform represented a profound transformation of the educational system. Equity, but also quality and lifelong learning to prepare students for the 21st century requirements. The educational reform focused its efforts on different priorities, such as school strengthening, modernizations of schools, infrastructure, suitability of teachers, curricular relevance, reinforcing the link between education and the labor market, equity of opportunities, and governance. It is clear that deep changes are always long-term ones. Nonetheless, some first results have been achieved, and so has OECD recognized them. Let me name just a few of them. Quality in education as a constitutional right. Equity as a priority of the education system. Learning for the future. Better school environments. Best practices regarding a professional's teacher service. Autonomic authorities, and an important increase in infrastructure funding for schools. In terms of inclusiveness and balance, Mexico has also made considerable efforts to make its education system more equitable and inclusive. For instance, the Program for Inclusion and Educational Reform, Programa para la Inclusión y la Equidad, directed at indigenous and special needs students. The expansion of social inclusion program, Prospera, for more disadvantaged families to benefit from cash transfers by sending their children to schools. Federal programs as Quality Schools, Escuelas de Calidad, and the Education Reform Program, Programa de la Reforma Educativa, have included schools in rural, indigenous, and marginalized areas as funding priority as well. Efforts encompass a wide range of programs focused on responding to students' different needs, especially helping the most disadvantaged, such as the National Council to Foster Education, CONAFE, or others for indigenous populations, as well as investing in school infrastructures, such as the program Escuelas al 100. The recent strategy for equity and inclusion in education, Estrategia para la Equidad y la Inclusión en la Educación, formalized in the new educational model of 2017, made efforts to build some coherence among these programs. Overall, the country has laid some of the necessary basis for all students to learn in safe, sanitary, and learning-friendly environments. With these programs, Mexico has been working towards balanced and inclusive education, complying and contributing to the 4 basic pillars considered by EER. Intraculturalism, as it recognizes and fosters the understanding and interdependence of cultures. Transdisciplinary, moving towards a more critical thinking to prepare students for new realities and challenges. Contextuality, teaching socio-emotional abilities and social responsibility. And dialectism, considering schools at the center, involving and promoting participation of different stakeholders. Almost a year ago, in Geneva, the efforts of a first forum resulted in a set of recommendations, and in this second forum, I am positive that all participants' contributions will also turn into relevant and useful results. We will learn from different countries and regions' experiences and best practices, and discussions will enrich all participant experiences. The global guide will allow us to focus on these efforts and become a relevant tool to achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 4, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. I wish you all a productive and useful forum. Sean todos ustedes bienvenidos a México. Están en su casa. Muchas gracias.